Old man feared his adopted son was taking him to a nursing home. Then everything turned around. Henry Wilson, an old man, carried a heavy heart, scarred by loss and time. Years ago, his world shattered when Margaret, his beloved wife, fell ill. It started with a cough. Soft at first, dismissed as a passing cold. But the cough grew fierce, stealing her breath, her strength, her light. Henry sat by her bedside in their Salem, Oregon home, holding her hand. Margaret's eyes, once bright with laughter, were dulled by pain. "Do you remember our first dance?" she whispered one night. Voice frail. Henry nodded, tears burning, recalling their twirl under summer stars. He'd stepped on her toes, and she'd laughed, calling him hopeless. The doctor's words were merciless: lung cancer. Too late to fight. Henry refused to believe it. Brewing her tea, praying for miracles. Margaret grew weaker, her body fading, but her spirit held strong. She'd smile, even in pain, and say, "You'll be okay, my love." One spring morning, as daisies bloomed outside, she slipped away. Henry felt her hand go limp, her breath stop, his world collapse. He sat frozen, staring at her peaceful face, unable to let go. The funeral was quiet, just neighbors and Daniel, their adopted son. Henry buried her under the oak tree she loved, her garden nearby. Each day after, he'd sit by her grave, whispering apologies. "I should have done more," he'd say, the guilt a constant shadow. The house felt empty without her laughter, her humming, her warmth. Margaret's absence was a wound that never healed, only deepened. Now, in Portland, Oregon, Henry felt forgotten and unwanted. He sat in his small room, watching the bustling streets below. The honking cars and rushing crowds made him feel out of place. His body, once strong, was frail, joints aching every morning. His mind, once sharp, was foggy, memories like a broken puzzle. Henry lived with Daniel and Daniel's wife, Sarah, in their modern home. The room he stayed in belonged to their son, full of old toys and posters. Each item reminded him he was taking up someone else's space. The hurried morning hellos and quiet dinners made him invisible. Their neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, brought plates of warm food. She was kind but blunt. "Henry, old folks like us aren't needed." Her words cut deep, especially on his lonely birthday. With just a store-bought muffin and a candle, Henry sat alone. "I don't want to be a burden," he whispered, deciding to act. One evening, he told Daniel, "Take me to a nursing home." His voice trembled but was firm, as if giving up on himself. Daniel sighed. "Dad, let's talk about this later." "Okay?" But later never came, and Henry sank into loneliness. His mind drifted to Salem, where he and Margaret built a life. The wooden house appeared vividly, as if he were still there. Floors creaked underfoot. The air smelled of aged wood. Margaret stood in the kitchen, kneading dough for pancakes. Her laughter rang when he told silly jokes. Her eyes sparkling, she hummed folk songs, watering her flower garden. Daisies and roses bloomed brightly under her care. Henry recalled summer evenings on the porch with her. She'd pull him up, dragging him into a dance under rain. Cool raindrops fell, their laughter mixing with thunder. "You're the worst dancer," she teased, her smile radiant. They worked hard, growing potatoes, carrots, beans in the garden. Their donkey, Daisy, with her silver gray coat, was always near. Henry remembered Daisy's soft bray when he brought hay. The house wasn't just a place, it was their heart. Margaret sewed curtains from scraps, each stitch full of love. They raised Daniel, Margaret's son from before, as their own. Henry taught him to fish, fix bikes, told stories by the fireplace. Evenings were spent together, laughter filling every corner. But even sweet memories couldn't hide the pain. One sweltering summer night, a storm knocked out the power. Exhausted from gardening, Henry lit a candle. He set it on the wooden table, sank into the armchair to rest. The candle flickered, casting shadows on family photos. Fatigue pulled him into sleep. Unaware of disaster looming, he woke to smoke, lungs burning, eyes stinging. Flames devoured walls, the orange glow fierce and terrifying. Photos of Margaret and Daniel curled and blackened. "Margaret," he shouted, forgetting she was gone. The fire roared, consuming curtains, books, memories. Henry staggered toward the door, but heat pushed him back. Smoke choked him. Vision blurred. Legs gave out. Neighbors broke in, yelling, "Henry, hold on." They dragged him out, cool night air flooding his lungs. Henry lay on the grass, watching his house burn to ash. Margaret's quilts, her flower pots, all gone. He woke in the hospital, body aching but alive. Surviving felt like a curse, not a blessing. Daniel arrived, eyes red. "Dad, you're living with us in Portland." Henry nodded, too weary to argue, heart shattered. Moving to Portland was like abandoning himself. Daniel's house was modern, bright with large windows, but it felt cold, missing the earthy smell or birdsong. Car horns replaced wind through Salem's fields. Passers-by hurried, no one stopping to chat. Henry missed mornings in Salem. Coffee with Margaret. She'd talk of planting an apple orchard someday. Now, he sat by the window, staring at towering buildings. No garden, no flowers, just concrete and exhaust. He felt like a leaf adrift in a strange river. Mrs. Thompson's meals were a rare comfort. But her words stung. "They're too busy. Henry, they don't care." Each night, he held Margaret's scorched photo. Her smile in the garden was vivid but distant. "I'm sorry, honey," he whispered, tears rolling down. He kept an old house key and Daisy's worn harness. They were the last fragments of his former life. Henry wasn't just mourning the house, but the world it held. Mornings fixing the fence, Margaret singing by the window. Afternoons on the porch swing, holding hands. Daisy nearby, munching grass, part of the family. Now, he had only a small room and memories. One Saturday morning, Daniel knocked, holding a clean shirt. "Pack your things, Dad," he said, voice calm but unreadable. "We're going on a trip." Henry's heart sank. He knew what this meant. He'd asked for a nursing home, but now it was terrifying. His hands shook as he took the shirt, chest heavy. "Don't take long," Daniel said, leaving the room. Henry stared at the suitcase, feeling he was packing his life away. He folded clothes slowly, each crease a memory. Margaret's photo was placed carefully on top. "I'll take you with me," he whispered, eyes stinging. He recalled painting the porch. Margaret spilling paint. She laughed, smearing some on his nose. Worst painter ever. That memory hurt, but it was also a comfort. In Daniel's car, Henry clutched the suitcase, heart full of dread. As they drove, Daniel's house faded, but Henry felt no attachment. It was never home, just a temporary shelter. The car was silent. Daniel focused, Sarah scrolling her phone. She turned and smiled, gentle but puzzling. Why smile when he was being sent away? Portland's cityscape faded, giving way to suburbs. Houses grew sparse, then vanished, replaced by green fields. Rolling hills stretched, dotted with wildflowers and cows. The day was picture perfect. One Margaret would have loved. Henry remembered countryside drives with her. They'd roll down windows, wind carrying their laughter. "We'll grow old here," she'd say, pointing to a meadow. Now, his throat tightened. That dream was gone. He pictured the nursing home, sterile walls, cold hallways, shuffling feet, the smell of disinfectant. He'd be forgotten. Daniel relieved. Visits rare. "You okay, Dad?" Daniel asked, breaking the silence. "Fine," Henry lied, wiping tears. Heart dishonest. "We're almost there," Sarah said, her smile softer. Henry gripped the suitcase, knuckles white, heart racing. What awaited him? He didn't dare ask. The car turned onto a winding road, flanked by tall trees. Shadows danced on the pavement, sunlight filtering through. No houses, no nursing home signs, just endless woods. The silence was eerie, amplifying his unease. "Where are we going?" Henry asked, voice trembling. "You'll see," Daniel replied, a cryptic smile on his lips. Henry's mind raced. Was this a remote place to leave him? A hidden nursing home where no one would visit? Each twist heightened his fear. Heart pounding. He remembered Margaret lost in the woods picking mushrooms. He'd searched all night, calling until his voice gave out. When he found her, she hugged him. "You always find me." Now, no one looked for him, and he felt lost. The car slowed, tires crunching on gravel. They stopped in a clearing. The forest parting. Henry held his breath, heart hammering. Daniel turned off the engine. "We're here, Dad." Henry hesitated, legs shaking as he stepped out. He adjusted his glasses, squinting in the sunlight. Before him stood a house, his house. White paint gleamed, the porch new, windows sparkling. It was as if the fire never happened. A miracle. Henry's knees buckled. Daniel steadied him. "What is this?" Henry whispered, voice choking. "Welcome home," Daniel said, eyes shimmering. Henry stepped inside, heart pounding, eyes blurring. Wooden floors gleamed, earthy walls warm and inviting. Everything was familiar yet new. Like a dream, he touched the dining table, recalling dinners with Margaret. She'd make beef stew, the aroma filling the house. On the fireplace mantel was their wedding photo. Margaret's smile radiant. It lit the room, pulling him back to those days. His throat tightened, tears spilling. "We rebuilt it," Daniel said, standing beside him. "Every board, every nail, for you." Henry ran his fingers over an armchair, reupholstered like Margaret's. He sat, remembering evenings she sat there, knitting. "You did this for me?" he asked, voice trembling. Daniel knelt, eyes wet. "You gave me everything, Dad. Your whole life was for me. This is how we give back." Henry looked around, tears blurring the room. Every detail, curtains, bookshelves, filled with love. The ache in his heart faded, replaced by peace. A familiar bray cut through the quiet, startling him. He turned, breath catching, heart racing. By the garden stood Daisy, his gray donkey. Her coat shone, ears twitching in the breeze. She stomped her hoof, dark eyes locked on him. "Daisy," he whispered, voice breaking, tears falling. "She wandered off after the fire," Daniel explained. "Neighbors cared for her until we brought her back." Henry shuffled toward her, legs shaky, hands trembling. He wrapped his arms around her neck, tears soaking her coat. The smell of hay, her warmth, brought back the past. Mornings feeding her, Margaret laughing by the garden. Afternoons Daisy pulled the cart, hauling vegetables to market. "I thought I lost you too," Henry sobbed, holding tighter. Daisy nudged him gently, comforting, saying, "I'm here." For the first time in years, Henry felt whole. The sun set, sky painted in orange, pink, purple. Henry sat on the porch, breeze carrying the garden scent. Crickets chirped, leaves rustled, a song of home. Daisy grazed nearby, her silhouette steady in twilight. Daniel and Sarah sat with him, voices warm and familiar. But Henry felt a lingering unease, something incomplete. He gazed at the fields, a strange tension rising. A faint sound came from the woods, footsteps. Henry gripped the armrest, heart racing, eyes straining. "What's that?" he asked, voice hoarse, looking at Daniel. Daniel smiled mysteriously, standing, waving toward the trees. "Wait a sec, Dad," he said, stepping off the porch. Henry held his breath, hands shaking, staring into darkness. Footsteps grew louder, mixed with soft laughter. From the shadows, figures emerged, carrying lanterns. They were old neighbors from Salem, friends of Henry and Margaret. Each held a gift, flower pots, pies, old photos. "Welcome home, Henry," they called, eyes bright with joy. Henry stood, tears streaming, heart overflowing. They hugged him, sharing stories of Salem days. One placed a pot of yellow daisies on the porch, Margaret's favorite. Henry looked around, surrounded by love. He didn't just have a house, but a community. He held Margaret's photo, whispering, "You see, honey, I'm home." The stars twinkled in the clear night sky. Henry knew he was never alone again. Love, loyalty, and hope had brought him back.